good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This bulletin is live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra and also live around the world on 3news.com. Coming up this evening, minority in Parliament questions Goldbod accounting systems of its losses as it readies itself to file for a formal probe into the operations of the state's gold trader. We'll bring you the full debate here on Hot Edition in a jiffy. Also in the bulletin, are you watching what you are eating? Food and Drugs Authority swings into action as videos of chemically induced ripening of some food crops goes viral. We'll give you an update on that as well. And finally, administrators of Ghana's universities in a fruitless meeting with managers of the education system over working conditions. Details of all of these and more coming up within the next 1 hour, where at the tail end of the show we'll bring you some business and sports as well. The big story today has to do with what the minority is saying in Parliament, which is that they believe Goldbod is making some losses, for which reason they need to be answering questions. Key part of one of the things they are raising is that they would ensure that they get the Goldbod officials to come and answer questions in Parliament, and the minority in the House is demanding accountability from the Ghana Gold Board over reported losses from its gold trading operations. They are questioning why the institution should take credit for foreign exchange gains while the association costs and losses are borne by the Bank of Ghana. Minority Leader Alexander Apenyomarkin says Goldbod must account for the full cost of its transactions, including fees collected and losses incurred in the purchase of the sale of gold. The purchase and the sale of gold. This follows recent reports by the International Monetary Fund, that's the IMF, which indicated that Ghana's domestic gold purchase program implemented through Goldbod recorded losses of more than $1.7 billion in 2025, which is equivalent to 1.5% of Ghana's GDP. Let's listen to the minority leader Alexander Apenyomarkin when he addressed the media earlier today.
The IMF has already told the country where this loss comes from. In its own words, the losses, quote, are a combination of service and asset fees paid to Goldbod, discount on gold sold to off-takers, into bracket exporters, and most importantly, exchange rate losses from the spread between Forex Bureau rates paid to purchase gold and the city reference rate used for BOG accounting, end quote. This can be found in paragraph 13 of the IMF report. This is not our characterization. That is the IMF's. And those involved in fact check can check. So here is a question Goldbod must answer. If every one of those service fees and asset fees were collected and kept, why should the losses that came bundled with earning them belong to someone else? You do not get to keep the fees and disown the costs. This is not accounting. That is convenience. And who exactly are these off-takers Goldbod sold discounted gold to? The country deserves an answer. Goldbod is happy to take credit for the foreign exchange it claims to have generated, but it goes quiet the moment we ask about the very trade the discounted sales, the fee arrangement that produced that forex in the first place. You cannot claim the upside of a trade and disown its downside.
And that is Alexander Apenyomarkin, the minority leader, who also questioned the role of the Bank of Ghana in the domestic gold purchasing program, particularly the manner in which financial risks associated with the transactions were allocated.
The role Goldbod played in the transaction places significant responsibility on it because, one, Goldbod participated directly in buying, aggregating, assaying, and exporting the gold. Two, Bank of Ghana provided the financing. Three, Goldbod earned fees from the transactions. But when the program generated substantial financial losses, those losses were not reported on the balance sheet of Goldbod. What kind of voodoo accounting is this? Who does this? This is perhaps the most important point that we, the caucus, want to put across. If Goldbod was legally an agent of Bank of Ghana, there may be a technical accounting basis for recognizing the underlying trade losses at the Bank of Ghana rather than recording them as Goldbod's own corporate losses. But Bank of Ghana is not interested only in which ledger the loss entered. We must ask, who designed the arrangement? Who approved it? Who executed it? Who controlled the risk? And why safeguards failed to prevent losses of this magnitude? An accounting structure cannot be used as a shield against public accountability. Majority, please, our motion is ready. We will file it before we get back next week. And we pray that you, the majority in Parliament, will fully cooperate with us, the minority. Something must be done. We need money for the hospitals. If government says there's no money to complete the Agenda 111 project, if government is still borrowing, yet it can find 22 billion, and this 22 billion, according to the IMF, is vanished into thin air.
Right, so you heard the voice again of the minority leader Alexander Penyamakin, who has been talking about the concerns of some losses made by the Ghana Goldbod, or Goldbod as many of you would know it. In a moment, we'll speak to Atta Issa, who is the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Sangnarigu constituency, and he also happens to be on the Economics Committee of Parliament. We'll try and get some thoughts from him in a moment. But earlier, in the late hour of yesterday, the CEO of the Ghana Goldbod, Sami Jemfi, put out a post on social media which is in relation to what the minority actually said. And I'm going to read verbatim what it was that he put out to the public. It says, the blatant lie being persistently peddled by Penyamakin that the Goldbod has made losses is only a figment of his hallucinatory imagination. What a joke of a minority leader he is. Find attached page 16 of the audited annual report and financial statement of the Ghana Goldbod for the year ending 31st December 2025, disclosing an operational surplus/profit of 907 million Ghana cedis and overall surplus/profit of 5.4 billion Ghana cedis. For the avoidance of doubt, this audit report was prepared and published by the Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana. Facts are sacrosanct, and that is the post made by Sami Jemfi, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Goldbod. Let's stay on this subject a while longer and speak to the Honourable Member for the Sangnarigu constituency, Mr. Ataisa. Good evening, sir, and thank you for your time.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. And good evening to your listeners.
What would your initial reaction be to this, like how Sami Jemfi put it, persistent issues being raised by the minority, which is that the Goldbod has made significant losses, as they put it. But anytime the issue comes up, the Goldbod, government or spokespersons for this current administration either brush it aside or describe it as operational losses. How does this sit with you?
I think that the minority has earned a distinction of always attacking the very success or the foundation of this economy, which is the Gold Purchase Program. So the intention is not on the personality of Sami Jemfi or the institution of Goldbod, but they are deliberately trying to weaken the very foundation or pillar of our economy. And to that end, we need to always respond to them when such attempts are being made. Now, looking at the press conference today, I think that this is not new. If you remember, later part of 2025, several attempts were made to set up an ad hoc committee to look into the Gold Purchase Program. when it was defeated in Parliament, there have been numerous press conferences held on this same subject matter. And it was fueled also by the recent IMF release, saying that the domestic gold purchase program recorded a $1.67 billion loss. I think that is the foundation in which they came with their press conference. But it's important for us to discuss the merits of the press conference and also the demerits. And I think that on the merit side, it is good always trying to put government on its toes to demand strict accountability for public officials when mandates have been given to them to serve the good people of Ghana. However, this press conference is empty and it is not new. They have not brought out any new findings that we haven't heard before. And with your permission, if I will just go straight into the issue. Now, if you look at the IMF 1.67 billion, approximately the 22 billion Ghana cedis that was reported, Ghanaians need to understand it within the context of a broader context, let me put it that way, because that $1.7 billion is an assessment of economic costs associated with the program. And it incorporates factors such as, for example, service and assayers costs, discounts, trading outcomes, and exchange rate differentials. Therefore, I want viewers and listeners to understand that it should not be treated as an equivalent to an audited corporate loss recorded by Goldbod. And I'll demonstrate that. If you look at what the IMF is saying, to assume that the Goldbod made a loss of 22 billion is to say that you don't understand audited financial accounts. Now, the IMF themselves attributed 4 basic reasons that accounted for the $1.67 billion. One, they are talking about the service and assayer costs. 2, the discounts. 3, trading outcomes. And 4, exchange rate differentials. I have always maintained that you don't treat an exchange rate differential as part of your operations. Because, for example, if the artisanal miners are selling gold in a perfect competitive market like the gold market, everybody knows the price of gold today in the international market. Same way as the artisanal miners are aware of it. Now, you cannot buy the gold using the BOG rate. This is because the BOG rate is mostly a purity rate because it doesn't include any margins, it doesn't include any risk. So that is why, if you observe, the policy rate is different from the lending rate given by central banks because they incorporate their margins and they also incorporate their risk levels. Now, if the gold board is having an exchange rate today at 10 cedis, yet the forex market has 11.35. What it simply means is that the artisanal miner is looking at trading the gold with the 11.35. But in the books of the Bank of Ghana, they cannot treat it at 11.35 because that is not within their chart of accounts. Their chart of accounts are indexed based on their spot rate that has been announced daily. So because of that, that 1.35 pesos that has been occasioned as a result of the exchange differential creates an artificial loss. And that artificial loss do not represent a corporate loss to an organization. Now, they are also factoring in the assayers cost and the rest. And I'm saying that this same structure and risk-bearing institution of Bank of Ghana did not start today. And with your permission, I'm saying that the Gold Board was created on 2nd April 2025. The Gold Board assumed both assets and liabilities of the PMMC. And I'm saying that this arrangement under the Gold Purchase Program did not emanate or start under the Gold Board. It predates the creation of the Gold Board. If you look at the financial performance of the program, the DGPP, which is the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, was initiated before Gold Board was legally established in 2nd April 2025. And they are saying that in 2021, they recorded 74.44 million Ghana cedis in 2022. They recorded 1.37 billion Ghana cedis in 2023, and they recorded 5.66 billion Ghana cedis in 2024 under the broad net loss classification, which is currently what is being done by the Gold Board and the Bank of Ghana. The IMF, what the IMF have done, in fact, the IMF used the same methodology that they have used today to estimate that the 2024 gold program losses amounted to $400 million. So these figures, for example, must assess within the full period of operation. and not just the institutional creation of Goldbod, because nothing has changed. What has primarily changed, or why you see some substantial amount as accruing as a loss, is because of the mapping up of massive gold pitches. If you look at 2024, the total tonnage was increased in 2025 by more than 200%. Naturally, costs associated with that transaction will enormously be high.
Okay.
And that does not mean that the Gold Board is inundated with debt.
Okay.
Look at it from the broader perspective. The Gold Board is not a profit-making entity. The Gold Board has been created to ensure that Ghana gets the full benefit of our economic resources. Same way as we do in Cocoa Board, and same way as we do with many other natural resources of our country. So the Gold Board coming on board seeks to increase the reserve position of this country so that we can always meet our balance of payment problems.
So I'm
the reason why Ghana...
Honorable, so should it be my understanding that yes, the IMF says Ghana, through our gold purchase program, incurred a loss in the year under review 2025. However, your argument is that in as much as we call it a loss, it is justifiable.
Yes. My argument is that, one, using the Bank of Ghana's legislation itself, using the International Accounting Standard reporting standards, and also using all the Public Financial Management Act legislation and its standards, Bank of Ghana did not make any loss of $1.7 billion or 22 billion Ghana cedis loss. The difference between what is reported by the IMF and the Bank of Ghana has to do with the cost methodology. If you look at the IMF, they are using what we call the broad economic quasi expenditure framework to do it, to incorporate all associated costs to attributing it to a loss.
Right.
What the Bank of Ghana does is to report it based on the International Accounting Reporting Standards and also the Bank of Ghana's Act that has prescribed how we treat exchange differentials, how we treat special drawings rights. It is all stated in the Bank of Ghana's Act.
Right.
So to understand it, the IMF categorically, with your permission, let me just read from the statement what the IMF said, and
after that, I'll bring in
this matter, please.
Okay.
The 2025, I just want to quote from the IMF report itself. They are saying that the 2025 audited financial statements and the IMF selected issues analysis apply different measurements and reporting approaches. The audited financial statement reflects established accounting and financial reporting frameworks, while the IMF adopts a broader economic methodology. The resulting figures are therefore not directly comparable. A transparent reconciliation of methodologies, periods, and components underlining the different estimates will provide a more useful basis for assessment. The IMF is cautioning against what the minority did, saying that what occasioned the difference between the reported IMF figure and the Bank of Ghana has to do with the cost methodology. And the IMF is saying that we need to reconcile the cost methodologies, analyze the time differences, and also analyze the underlying different estimates that has been used to provide a more useful basis for assessment. And I think that should suffice for now.
Okay. Mr. Sifua Vincent is the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo and also a member of the Economy and Development Committee of Parliament. Mr. Sifua, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The clear concern being raised here, I mean, from the minority side, is that a loss is a loss, irrespective of how you describe it. But if you just heard what your colleague on the other side, the Honorable Ataisa, he says that there are justifications for these losses and that the methodology even that went into the calculations from the IMF side, it is not anything new as a result of Goldbod's creation. It's a system that has been in place all these years. How do you respond? That should suffice from what he's saying, right?
Well, I'm not surprised from the comments that I've heard from Ataisa so far, because if you remember, when this issue broke out for the first time, even when Parliament, I think, was not even in session, he was the one who mobilized even non-members of Parliament to come to Parliament as at the foyer of Parliament to address the country about this losses. So I know he has this personal interest in this matter. And as to why he has that personal interest, I do not know. At the point where he was even speaking on behalf of the Bank of Ghana, what capacity he was doing so, I never know. Secondly, let me correct this erroneous impression that has been created by Ataisa. His assertion that nothing new has been said or unraveled by the minority is false. I was part of the proponent of the motion that was sent to the Speaker of Parliament, which motion was resisted fiercely by Ataisa and the side of the majority. The motion was not necessarily about just the losses that we have uncovered. Mind you, at the time, the losses that the minority spoke about was about $214 million. It was not $1.7 billion. It was $214 million. So if it tells you that nothing new has been unraveled, that is a falsehood. In fact, the report of the IMF talks about the fact that, in fact, the first page talks about the fact that the information or the report is based on the information available at the time it was completed in July 10th, 2026. Remember, our motion was resisted by the minority and finally thrown out from the House of Parliament in March. So it means that subsequently, there are a lot of issues or there are a lot of losses that have already been incurred by Goldbod or Bank of Ghana. So he cannot say that nothing new has been unraveled. In fact, as part of our major reasons that we went by way of a motion to the Speaker of Parliament for the majority side to support us to be able to, as it were, administer a probe into the activities of Goldbod, was for purposes of ensuring that the design of the Gold for Reserves program was actually in consonance with the law. So if he says that nothing new has been unraveled by the minority, that is falsehood, because that is not what we said today. Today, our basis of the press conference was to the effect that has there been a $1.7 billion, that is 22 billion Ghana cedis lost by the Goldbod or not? That is number two. Number three.
And in your estimation and all the explanation they've given and the report of the IMF, you believe that the reasons adduced in terms of the service cost, the discount that they have to give, and then the exchange rate differentials, all these reasons not justify
me. I am not
losses.
An economist like Ataisa, but my simple analysis that I understand from the report of the IMF is that, at least if you look at their selected issues that they publish, page 10, item number 13, and when I say item number 13, I mean paragraph 13. The IMF is saying that there are three reasons that has ensured the losses. One has been the fees, that's the safe fees that is paid to Goldbod.
Yes.
Two, the discounts, on gold sold to off-takers. And three, most important, the exchange rate. Let me start with the exchange rate. My brother, if the Bank of Ghana gives an interbank rate of, for example, 10.5, and gives money to Goldbod, which money, for example, also is maybe 100 million Ghana cedis, then Goldbod uses Forex Bureau rate to trade, and their losses. You are saying that the one who is trading should not be made to account for that loss, but rather the one who gave the money. Is that what Ataisa is telling me? The one who has given you the money has given you an interbank rate that is supposed to be used. And mind you, based on the multiple currency analysis, it's a global practice that is supposed to be used. It is wrong for you to be using different rates. For different agencies or different institutions at the same time. So how can Bank of Ghana be using a certain rate, then Goldbod is also using another rate? And when there are losses, you are saying that we should not hang it on the neck of Goldbod. Who is trading?
I have a final question, and both gentlemen, I would want you to look at it for me. I'll start with you, Mr. Ataisa. The question would be that, so clearly there are concerns, and of course, like the issue raised, every loss is a loss, irrespective of how you try to justify it. They believe that it can be cut down, reduced looking at the quantum, I mean, if you're losing 1.5% of the country's GDP, that is quite concerning. How, from the government position, or at least from the NDC's position, can these losses be reduced or done away with? Is it possible? And what are the propositions the majority are looking at?
All right, so I cannot answer your question without responding to a few issues.
Because of time, kindly be brief for me.
I'll be very brief. Number one, when I say they haven't done anything new, that it has nothing to do with the quantum. It has to do with the principle. Now, if you look at paragraph 13 of the 2026 IMF selected paper, it says that the GGPP operation generated significant losses for BOG. It attributes the losses to a combination of service and affairs fees paid to Goldbod, discounts on goods sold to off-takers and exporters, and most important, the exchange rate losses arising from the spread between the rates to acquire the goods and then the ceding reference rate used for BOG accounting purposes. The paper estimates the 2024 losses at almost $400 million, and the reports are much larger for 2025 following the scale-up of the Dory Gold operations. That's the IMF 2026 paragraph 13. Now, what I'm just trying to draw your attention to is that if you look at the timeline, you realize that from June 2021, the BOGs began the gold purchase program in Ghana. And under that, Goldbod was not in existence. In 2022, the GGP scaled up its reserve accumulation program, and then they exposed the Bank of Ghana through the PMSC. In 2023, Gold for Oil operated alongside Gold for Reserves, and the Bank of Ghana was the principal financier and risk bearer of that activity. In 2024, the program expanded sharply. IMF later estimates about $400 million losses of 2024. Inherent in that was the same architecture we used in 2025, so nothing has changed. Okay. I maintain that the reason why the loss in 2025 was larger than 2024 is because if you look at the gold purchase program in 2021, they purchased only 8.7 tons. 2022, they purchased 3.47 tons. 2023, they purchased 37.02 tons. 2024, they purchased 56.47 tons. And 2025, we purchased 110.99 tons.
So the volume was higher.
It will come with this associated cost. But answering your question in a second, is that the government from June has cut off its funding for the Goldbod. The arrangement under the current program, which was passed in February this year, 2026, has to do with making sure that we provide an arrangement similar to the rollover contract under the Cocoa Board. Okay. We are now getting the resources directly from the off-takers abroad, and then we purchase it from the Ghana miners. Then when sales are made, the Gold Board gets margins and fees, and then the reserves comes to the Bank of Ghana to show up our reserves. So for that matter, I don't wish to see significant losses again moving forward. But that is not to say that NDC is against accountability. They must use the right channel and not always the usual propaganda that they do.
So in 2026, when the final audit is done, you are anticipating that we shouldn't be making losses?
I'm not anticipating we wouldn't make losses. In the first place, there was already an equity difficulties we had emanating from 2024. Now we are having a total negative equity of 96 billion Ghana cedis because we took it from 61.8 billion. So naturally, there will be a drop in the negative equity position of the Bank of Ghana. Also, the reported 15.6 billion that we got as a result of the gold operations, we expect to see a decline. Now. So we cannot confidently say that it will vanish for 2026, but we will see a decline in 2026 and moving forward.
Honorable Ataisa, thank you so much for your time. Mr. Esifo, same question. What would the best way forward be regarding this gold purchase program and the losses that we have recorded over time, and not just 2025? Based on your assertions and what the majority have just said, the losses have been consistent, and based on how much volume we bought in 2026, I beg your pardon, 2025, or the year under review, it was higher, hence the higher percentage of losses. But what would the minority's advice be in terms of progress?
My brother, around this table of discussion, it has been agreed and accepted by all of us, especially from what Ataisa said, that indeed there has been losses. Again, he also agreed that in 2026, he cannot confidently tell you that there are not going to be any losses. So indeed, Ataisa is saying that there are going to be losses again in 2026, and that in 2025, there were also losses. the Bank of Ghana itself has already taken steps, and that is why they have withdrawn from financing the activities of Goldbod. And that is based on the recommendations, or if you like, the findings from the IMF. And that is why the IMF, the Bank of Ghana itself, is making sure that such losses does not repeat itself. And so I think that when there is a proper probe, we are going to find out a lot more for us to be able to recommend much more forcefully as to how this impasse can be resolved.
Right. Honorable Vincent Ekosifo, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time. And he is the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo and also a member of the Economy and Development Committee of Ghana's Parliament. You, the Ghanaian taxpayer, you listening to us, it is your money and your resource that is being discussed with such passion. So do let us know what you think of the best way of, earning from our gold, and then also ensuring that we are doing it the right way, because there are clearly concerns from both sides, the minority and the majority. However, we need to find the best foot forward, which is how much are we paying for the gold? How much are we making as a country? Where are these resources being channeled? And how can we ensure that we consistently get value for money? Based on what Ataisa told us, there has been a revision of the strategy being used in terms of the gold purchase program. But will that suffice? Like you heard him, he is not able to concretely tell us whether there will be losses or not. However, he believes that even if there will be losses when the 2025 audit is done for 2026, it wouldn't be as much as we recorded for 2025. So do let us know your thoughts as well and how best the Gold Board can maneuver these very concerning losses that have been reported by the IMF. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. You're listening to us live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. The big story we've just been discussing, minority is raising questions and have even threatened to haul the CEO of Goldbod to Parliament to answer questions. But beyond that, another big concern we have for you, or the topic we're treating next, has to do with what you consume at home. I'm sure many of you have seen the videos that have gone viral on social media, which has to do with the chemically induced ripening or forced ripening of some of the food items you and I purchase. Well, it looks as though the Food and Drugs Authority, after getting the notification of what has gone on, is currently on high alert, warning the public against using unauthorized chemicals to force ripening of plantains. The action follows a viral video from the Medina market showing traders using a harmful plant growth regulator called Ethimax to turn green plantains yellow overnight. The video has generated public debate about the wholesomeness of food on Ghanaian markets. So what exactly are these issues? Let's now go to the phone lines and speak to Yakubu Adam, who is a toxicologist, and he's joined us for a quick chat. Mr. Adam, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
So to the layman, what is the chemical, the Ethimax? And I'm sure you must have seen or chanced upon the video of when they apply the chemical, a green, what they call body bunu, all of a sudden starts turning yellow in a short period. What is this chemical? What is it supposed to do? And definitely it's not being used rightly, is it?
Okay, thank you very much. And good evening to you and your audience. When they come to the viral video, it was seen that some women apply some liquid solution in actually causing immediate ripening of greeny fruits and also greeny vegetables. Now, during the development stage of every plant, it's actually done or regulated by hormones. So we have basically 5 hormones that actually regulate every plant growth. And one of the hormones is the ethylene. And the major function of the ethylene is to bring about ripening of the fruits whenever it's matured. And this is a naturally occurring hormone. So naturally, the plant produces them to aid in ripening whenever the fruit actually reach its maturation. However, scientists have decided to create a synthetic form. So when you take the Etifon or the Etimas, the brand name is the Etimas, okay, and the generic name is actually the Etifon. So now when you take these Etifon, what it actually do is that whenever you sprinkle it on the fruit or any green substances, what you do is that the green substance or the green tissues of the cell breaks them down into ethylene. And this ethylene is the same hormone that the plant produces naturally. So whenever you spray your crops or you spray these substances, these greeny fruit and vegetables with these ethymas, so now the ethymas is being absorbed by the leaves or absorbed by the fruit, and now in the food, this chemical breaks down to the ethylene hormone. So it is, and this ethylene hormone, when it's being produced, the plant sees it to be the naturally occurring hormone. So actually, when you talk about these ethymas, it's actually a plant growth regulator. So mostly, when you use it guidedly, it's not supposed to cause harm. And one thing we should know is that when you take the Etifon or the Etimat, when is it supposed to be applied? It's when the vegetables or the fruits are still on the farm. So when you apply them, it's not supposed to get to the market unless after some pre-harvest time period of maybe 14 days. Because when it gets to the market right away, it means that the traces of the Etifon will still be found on the fruits. At that time, the Etifon may not be fully converted to maybe the ethylene gas or the ethylene hormone. So you still be having some traces of the Etifon found in the fruit. So it's actually recommended that when you are applying them, this is a plant growth regulator that has been approved by the EPA, which is our regulator. So due diligence has been done about this chemical. However, when you misapply them, that's where it becomes a problem. Like for instance, the market women or the video that was trending, they were applying it directly post-harvestly, meaning they are having the plantain and they were applying it directly at the market. So this time around, there's nothing like pre-harvest waiting time because they are just abusing it, and that is where the problem is.
So, I mean, to the layman, it is not a wrong chemical or a harmful chemical, quote unquote, in the strict sense of it. However, the application must first of all be on the farm while the plant is still growing, and then after application, it should take a period of about 14 days before it can be consumed or at least sold get to the market. What then should the concern be in this case that it looks like, of course, the video must have been shot. We don't know when exactly, how long it took, but what we know is that people are applying it. How would you advise against the purchase or use of some of these chemically induced plants and vegetables?
Okay, so when it comes to the Etifon is actually commercially available since it's actually registered by the EPA. So when you get to their list of approved pesticides and plant regulator, it is there. So restricting its use restricting its purchase will actually becomes a problem since it's actually unapproved. So we need to actually take in caution whenever we are applying them. For instance, when you get to the market and before you apply them, now you are not having the ethylene hormone again because you still have the traces of the main chemical called Etifon. And over application or measured application of this substance on the fruit may cause a whole lot of gastrointestinal distress, respiratory distress, and even can cause nervous problems. Because when this is finally ingested, although the absorption rate is minimal, but if the amount becomes an overdose, or when you ingest a high amount, the tendency of it being absorbed becomes high. However, looking at it on a raw surface level, the absorption is minimal. However, when you take them overdose, for instance, when you get the fruit, nobody take now your hand. You used to peel the fruit. Now your hand will be having the traces or residue of Etifon. Now these will be used to hold the plantain or the banana or whatever. So whenever you consume this banana, you are also consuming this etyphon. And when etyphon gets into the bloodstream, it serves as something we call acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. Meaning when it gets into your blood, it can bring about weakness, dizziness, and because it's not supposed to be found there. Right, because these chemicals are very foreign to our body, so it's not supposed to be found in our body. Okay. It's just an external application, and when you follow it precautiously by waiting for the pre-harvesting time, then you will not have a problem with it. Okay. However, when it's not being used well as maybe indicated on the product label, that is where it really becomes a problem.
Okay. Thank you for this education you have brought to the conversation, Mr. Yakubu Adam. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And he is a toxicologist and has been helping us, put into better perspective this issue of the forced ripening of plantain, especially in the viral video that many of you must have seen. So what we are being told is that it is not an entirely bad chemical in and of itself. However, you need to apply it according to specific rules and regulations. And the toxicologist is advising against its direct use or human consumption. He says, amongst other things, that one, it must be applied on the farm while the fruit or the item is still on the farm. And then even if it is applied, it should take at least 14 days before it is brought to the market. So it gives an indication that the FDA needs to intensify public education and get people to know the exact thing to do. Many of you have been sharing your thoughts as well on this. We hit the streets to pick the thoughts of some Ghanaians on it. And these are the concerns being raised and the understanding of perceptions being shared.
With the issue of the chemical that is being exposed in the market, it was as a result of our engagement with the market women. We normally, in every 2 months, we organize sensitization workshop with them. So it was out of that the issue came up that although we picked an intel already, so I asked them direct question, and one was very boldly enough to come out and say that yes, they use such chemicals to ripe plantain and then banana within a short period of time. So I'm also happy that the FDA has also issued a release on that. But before even their release, I have even also directed our environmental units. They should take immediate action and arrest the persons involved in this particular action. In fact, we are going to make sure that all of them, wherever they are selling this chemical within Lankwantana Medina Municipal Assembly, the person will be arrested. In fact, it's going to be cancelled in Medina trading markets. We are not going to accept that because it doesn't go down well with us.
And so you heard the voice of an official of the Food and Drugs Authority giving a clear warning to market women and traders against the use of the forced ripening chemicals of plants. So, many of you who have been sharing your thoughts and comments with us say that you have either seen someone or know a trader who has either applied it before or still does. Well, if you are within the Lankwantanan municipality, the MC has just spoken and is saying that those who use it will be dealt with according to law. It must be stopped forthwith, and that the FDA would be taking stringent action regarding this particular development. Your thoughts are also very welcome on this subject matter. Do let us know what you make of it and whether people are trying to use dubious means to just make quick money, against the health concerns of almost every consumer in the country. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. Let's turn our attention to education-related stories now. The strike by university administrators is now taking a toll on students and people who use campus facilities. In some cases, exams have been disrupted. This comes despite a meeting between the Education Minister Haruna Idrisu and the leadership of the Ghana Association of University Administrators and the Technical University Senior Administrators Association. The dispute centers on concerns of a market premium payment and the implementation of an interim allowance agreement. Government has appealed to the unions to suspend the action, with the Education Minister Haruna Idrisu asking for 1 month to work through their concerns. This evening, a new directive from the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission directing specific senior management officials who joined the strike to return to work. GTEC also ordered the vice chancellors to submit the names of those who fail to comply. We'll try and get some answers to this particular story for you in a moment. Still on education-related matters or labor-related matters, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission will try and get some, reaction to this particular issue about students, the impact the current strike is having on students. Some of those who are even expected to start their exams have been affected as a result of the strike by university administrators, across the country. When we do get them, we'll put the appropriate questions to them and then get you the right response as well. Now, we're staying on labor-related issues because the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission says it is prepared to address concerns raised by pre-tertiary teacher unions over their conditions of service. But the Commission wants the unions to wait for the establishment of an independent public emoluments commission, which it says will have the mandate to deal with issues relating to allowances. The Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Dr. Smith Graham, says the proposed independent commission will have the mandate to resolve issues relating to allowances. And this exactly is what he's been saying.
So we've engaged them, but they don't seem to understand. They want us to review holistically, and they are the only group left. We've negotiated with every union. They are the only group left, so
they are not happy with that decision.
We will engage them again next week, and from there we'll know exactly what will happen.
And that's the voice of Dr. Smith Graham, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. But the proposal has not gone down well with the teacher unions. The president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Jacob Anaba, says that the unions cannot suspend their demands while waiting for a commission whose establishment date is unknown.
As we speak, we are not sure when this independent emolument commission will come into force. So for how long are the teachers going to wait for our continuous professional development allowance to be paid, our digital allowance to be paid, and our deprived area allowance to be paid? These are three critical issues that we have agreed on.
Right, so that is President of NAGRAT, Jacob Anaba. Meanwhile, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, the uncertainty surrounding the proposed commission is a major concern for them. And Thomas Tanko Musa is the General Secretary of NAT, and he's been raising similar concerns about this development.
Look, are we saying that the laws of Ghana, because the Independent Emolument Commission is coming, so all the laws of Ghana are not working? The Constitution, Article 24(3), that says that workers are unions are created to seek and protect the interests, the economic and social. In all those things are not working again, because a baby called Independent Emolument Commission is going to be born. No.
Well, so it clearly gives an indication that we are not yet out of the woods regarding these concerns raised by the teachers and their debacle with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. That was Thomas Musa Tanko. Now, the union insists that they will maintain their August 31 deadline for industrial action unless concrete steps are taken to address their concerns. Let's take a step back to our earlier story, which has to do with the strike by university administrators, which we're told is currently now taking a bite on students and people within the university community. First, let's speak to Faisal Idrisu, who is our man in the Volta region. He visited the University of Health and Allied Sciences, the Hohoi campus, and he's joined us for a quick conversation. Faisal, so what exactly did you find on campus, and what kind of impact is this strike having on students?
Okay, so for the University of Health and Allied Sciences, they have begun their end of semester exams on the 15th. just before the strike action began. And so the exams have been halted. Students, as of this afternoon, didn't know when they will take the rest of their papers and packet and go. Those in the final year say we did not know. The uncertainty is giving them distress. There's anxiety because they would have to finish their exams and also proceed with their final project work. And because of the situation on campus, they do not know how soon these will be over. Some express mixed feelings. They think that, well, now that there's a strike action and the papers have been put on hold, they rather use the opportunity to study. And then when it is time to write the papers, we have much more readier for the papers. Management has also been speaking. Dean for the school, Professor Frank Baden, also indicated to me that apart from the examination, there are other obligations they have to deal, and the administrators play central role in executing some of these things with their partners, and because of the strike, they are not able to do all of that. But the good news is that just a few minutes ago, I've been prompted that the students will resume their exams on Thursday. That's it.
Right, so wait, the news you are giving us is that on the Hohoe campus of the University of Health and Allied Sciences, exams will resume when? On Thursday?
On Thursday. But that was the indication I got just a few minutes ago.
And that could mean that what, the strike has been called off, or these are different arrangements?
Not at all. These are internal arrangements to allow the students write their exams and probably vacate. In fact, some are due for attachment, and all that arrangement has been made already with the organizations. So if they delay any further, then of course that is also going to affect their attachment. So management says they are putting in place internal arrangements to allow the students write their exams and go, while the issues regarding the strike action are solved.
Okay, all right. Faisal, thank you very much for that update from the Volta region. Specifically, he visited the University of Health and Allied Sciences and has been given us an update. The president of the Ghana Association of University Administrators has joined us in the person of Reverend Kweku Kakariamwa. Reverend, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. So, you heard what my colleague had just told us from the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Is that a position you share as president of the union, of the association?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. In fact, our strike is not targeting students. Our strike is not targeting any union on campus. Our strike is for our employers to listen to us. So all that we are saying is that we have withdrawn our services. So any activity that can go on without our services, all those activities are permitted. So if the Hohoe campus of the University of Health and Allied Sciences can continue the exams without our services, fair enough. We don't have any problem with that. But okay. We are also advising, and also, yes, we are advising that we are mindful of the procedural issues involved in conducting exams. So that is that.
Right. But for purposes of clarity and education, and if you can be brief on this for me, I'll be grateful. What is the role of the administrators on our various university campuses, and what can be done and what cannot be done with and without the involvement of the administrators?
Well, thank you very much. You know, when you talk of GAWA, we are not just administrators, but we are a union that has both professionals and administrators together. Yes, we have both administrators and professionals. So if you pick examinations, we have you have to procure examination papers, answer booklets. You have to procure items for printing the examination papers and other things. And this has to do with the finance directorate, the procurement office, the internal audit, and then the directorate of students and academic affairs. And all these directorates that I've mentioned are headed by directors who are members of the Ghana Association of University Administrators. And beneath the directors are the heads of departments and the sectional heads. And all of them are also members of the Ghana Association of University Administrators. So in their absence, nobody can legally perform their functions, because from a director's office to the let's say the senior staff, there is a senior member who is a GAWA member who is supposed to minute the letter for the senior staff to work or give directions for the senior staff to work. So without the head of department or the sectional head, the senior staff there cannot function.
Okay.
So we have a lot of rules. And apart from that, the estates department is also in charge of arranging the examination halls, the indexing and other things. And it's under the headship of a government member.
Right. And this particular last point you just make clearly tells that in as much as you say your strike is not targeted at students, they are the ones that bear the brunt at the end of the day. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, when medical doctors go on strike,
we all get affected. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so have you raised these concerns with government or the employer? What kind of response have you received so far?
Yes, in fact, we had a meeting with the Minister of Education yesterday, and I must say that it was a very fruitful meeting. The minister called on us to call off the strike so that within 48 hours, we assured him that we are going to engage our constituents. So as I speak with you, our local branches are meeting to take a decision. I know Legon has met, UCC has met, they have taken a decision. We are yet to collate the views from the locals so that we can put it together and submit a report to the Minister of Education for him to also help us in addressing our issues. So we are gradually getting there. I must say that yesterday's meeting was very fruitful and an important milestone was talked.
Okay.
So we are hoping that the 48-hour deadline that we assured the minister, we'll get there. We'll get a communication to the minister.
Thank you very much for your time this evening, Reverend Kweku Kakari Amoa. He is the president of the GAWA, or GAWA as he pronounces it, which is the Ghana Association of University Administrators. This is Hot Edition on 3FM. Time now for the latest in the world of sports.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. Now, to some key stories, Ghana defender Abdul Mumin has joined Girona on a 3-year deal after leaving Rayo Vallecano, bringing an end to a 4-year spell at the Vallecas. Now, the 28-year-old centre-back leaves Rayo, having joined from the Portuguese side Victoria Guimarães in September 2022. Mumin became a free agent after his contract expired at the end of June 2026. Before his move to Girona emerged, the Ghanaian had attracted interest from several clubs in Spain and elsewhere in Europe, with Girona included among the teams that wanted his signature. Now, former Arsenal and France captain Patrick Vieira has been appointed as the new head coach of the Senegal's men's national team. The 50-year-old replaces Pape Thiaw, who was sacked in the wake of the country's last 32 exits at the FIFA World Cup. Born in Senegal's capital, Dakar, Vieira will now manage the country of his birth, having moved to France aged 8 before later winning over 100 caps for Le Bleu and lifting the World Cup in 1998 and the European Championship in 2000. Also, KRC Genk have announced this permanent signing of Jerry Efriye on a 5-year deal. Efriye joins the club on a permanent move from Saudi side Al Qadsiya for an undisclosed fee. Bringing an end to sports here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. Of course, before we wrap up, of course, we have to leave that back with Martin Esiedu Date, who is on standby to bring an end to this bulletin.
And this is Hot Edition on 3FM. You've been listening to our program live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kandai in Accra. That's it for the show. Big story we brought to you this evening. The minority and the Goldbod are at loggerheads again. We'll try and get you further perspectives when they do come up. The Food and Drugs Authority is warning against the forced ripening of food items. And then also you heard the administrators of Ghana's university saying that they, in the next few days, will be announcing whether or not their strike will be called off because they've had a fruitful meeting with the education minister. Details of all of this is on our website, 3news.com. My name is Martin Esiedu Date. Bye for now.